Greetings and welcome to The Thirsty Mage, the podcast still wiping away the tears for our boy Nanaki. I'm your host for this episode, David Lloyd, and hopefully you haven't gotten too tired of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth episodes yet, because we're down to our third to last, and we're getting into the nitty-gritty of the Cosmo Canyon region. Joining me is a man who has not been hiding his true pitch of his voice all this time. It's Casey Gibson.
It's actually funny. I was going to go, hey guys! Thanks for having me! That was... I mean, I don't want to say it was my favorite moment in the game because there's just so many great moments, but that's definitely one of the most memorable moments, walking up to the gates of Cosmo Canyon. So good.
One of the more surprising too, and I wasn't... at the time, I thought it was just going to be kind of like, oh, that's funny, he's been faking his voice, he'll go back. And I'm like, nope, that voice actor is just... That's it.
You voice half the game.
Yeah, that voice actor is not. He has no spoilers to provide on the back.
Yeah. Back he didn't need to sign an NDA. It's like whatever, dude. It's funny because I almost thought too, like, oh, is this just like maybe his pure excitement, right? Like, I'm so happy to be home. Like you almost, your voice cracks or something. Like, but no, he's just been 100% high. Keeping the low voice to. As he says, garner respect, right? He wanted everyone to sort of not think of him as a child, even though he's like 48 years old or something, but I guess that's akin to a
teenager,
15 or
I guess.
16-year-old, in human years.
Yeah, it was hilarious. I don't remember. I don't think any of that was in the original game from what I remember. Like, I know I knew that he aged much slowly than everyone else because, like, obviously with the ending,
a dog after all, or a cat or whatever.
Yeah, so like I knew he had this extended lifespan, but yeah, I don't recall them making a big deal about him still kind of being a teenager or whatever. I guess there was no voice acting in the original, so they clearly it wouldn't have come up.
Dictate or clear difference from one point to the next, but I guess you always just sort of I guess it really just boils down to voice acting to add so much character, obviously, to personality to a character, instead of just our voices or our minds making the voices and sort of the dialect, you know what I mean? So no, that was definitely super cool, and just another aspect of how well these characters I felt like were very developed in the original and, very memorable, lovable characters, but now having like just the unlimited tools, right, to really bring them to life, whether it, really funny animations like we were talking about when, Red dresses up as the Shinra soldier
Yes.
to play, Queen's Blood or this aspect. I really feel like Red 13 might be one of the characters that sort of got the biggest facelift in terms of just, personality and sort of just developing him as a character.
Yeah, well, this region arguably is like, this is Red 13's time to shine, because it's like the entire storyline of like from beginning to end, really. It starts with the voice change, but then it, even at the very end when they've kind of wrapped up what they're doing there, like it's all kind of his story. It's explaining his backstory and explaining what happened to his family, and then setting up kind of like his future of goals or motivations or whatever. Like, it's this Cosmo Canyon of the region, like through the quests and through everything that transpires, it's really like this. He's at the forefront of everything here.
Yeah, they really pull back the curtain and let you see, sort of everything about him. Whether, as you're saying, like his sort of, his past and how it sort of shaped him and what he wants to do with the future. And then just honestly seeing all the people, right, and like their love for him in the village and obviously Bugenhagen.
Yeah.
Obviously they're homeboys as well. But really, I mean, for me, this was probably my favorite zone in the game, I think. Up to
And you
this
played them
point,
all now.
yeah, yeah. Not to spoil the next zone, which I really enjoyed as well. And yeah, I guess I should state like there was no bad zone in my opinion.
No.
I think Gungaga was a little bit annoying with the traversal and just getting lost, which that's why I think I really like this zone. Which I'm sure we'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, Cosmo Canyon between the music, the sort of the lore and all the stuff you learn while we're here, and then just compared to the original, like you knew that planetarium scene was going to be amazing. It was really cool back in the day with what a PS1 could do.
Yeah.
And then obviously the power of PS5. Now all of a sudden it's like, wow, this is, but it's one of those things where I felt like, even though obviously if you put them side by side, it's like they're nothing alike. It's like that's how I remembered the original one, right? Like
Yeah.
playing back in the day, that sort of like grandiose. Oh, this is like they put the framework here and let my mind do the rest, and now all of a sudden they have the power to do what your mind was doing back then.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's funny too because like everything is kind of pretty grandiose. Like even coming into when you first come into the canyon, like you're riding in the little Bronco, like Sid's bringing you,
Well,
and
yeah,
and
should we say we didn't even talk about the best character being revealed finally?
oh yeah, yeah, I think
Boy
we just
Sid.
mentioned it at the end of the Gongaga, but yeah, seeing Sid again is like
So
com-
good.
yeah, completely different background for him though. Like we're not finding him as this embittered old man in old man in 36
Yeah,
in
no.
Rocket Town this time. He's more of an entrepreneurial spirit in this game where he's kind of taxing people. He's like Air Uber, I guess,
Yeah,
where
Uber, that's so funny.
where you just
Uber
show up at
Air.
a yeah, and he's got a funny what's the accent too? He's got like a kind of a southern accent or something. I can't even remember what
Yeah,
it is.
I'm blanking off the top of my head, but maybe more like southern or western or like
Yeah,
something. He's got some sort of you know dialect to him there, but
yeah. So yeah, if you need his services, you just pop open one of the flares and set the smoke, and he'll come flying in on his Bronco to take you wherever you want for a few gil.
I wonder if, like you said, he's sort of right. Yeah, more of a happy-go-lucky, like good spirits kind of guy. I wonder when we get into his part in the third, if it will be something like maybe we do a flashback to sort of see his, when he was upset and angry and bitter, and like he's sort of overcome that, or if they're going to really do like a big change on it, or who knows, right? This
Yeah,
game's taking liberties with the stories. They could have made it where he actually did launch, right?
yeah.
I hope not, because I mean that would be. Well, I mean, I guess I don't know. I'm open for change, but yeah, it will definitely be interesting because yeah, like he's not that bitter guy you sort of first find in the original.
Did okay? This might be a slight spoiler, so you could skip ahead 10 seconds if you're very sensitive to it. But Casey, have you seen the dialogue yet where Sid asks Aerith about her mother?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay, well then there's a little bit of an answer to that what you just asked coming up.
Okay, yeah. So okay,
Yeah, there's gonna be you're gonna see some backstory soon there.
okay, cool. I like
Yeah.
that.
So yeah, there's a bit of a change there. So we'll talk about that in the next episode because I'm pretty sure it's right where you are from what we talked about before the episode. So and I apologize again. I've like completely ruined that whole cutscene because I accidentally spoiled something earlier off,
That's okay.
and now
I'm
I've just
not.
spoiled
Yeah,
another part. Sorry.
I'm not usually one to get too upset over spoils. So it's no, it is what it is.
But yeah, so yeah, they drop us off. There's a little. It's funny. There's like a little bit of a scene before you even get to Cosmo Canyon where you run into the family that's running the chocobo farm, and you find out like the daughter, I guess, like had a run in or had a bad experience, and she doesn't want to ride her chocobo anymore. So we're
You and
taking.
Yuffie got to show him who's boss.
Yeah, that's right. So they go out on the track, and this is maybe one of my favorite chocobo abilities. Where this one, I can't remember the bird's name, but it basically kind of flies like to a certain extent. Like there's like a very neat and fun gliding mechanic where you jump off the canyon wherever, like there's specific spots, like there's little ramps that you kind of run up and then
Yeah, launch pads almost.
yeah, exactly. So you like launch off and then you can do you glide, and then there's ways like you can kind of like dive bomb and zoom back up, and there's pockets of air that are being pushed up from the ground that can shoot you back up into the sky and that sort of thing. So I really enjoy the verticality of, and it makes sense because it's canyon. So
Yeah.
there's so much verticality in this region where
Yeah,
you're just
and
like zooming around and just like flying all over the place.
yeah, and like you said, right, obviously a canyon, so there's lots of valleys and peaks. So it is nice to be able to jump off one of those things and like coast over a hole and get to the other side. And they play with that quite a bit. In the beginning, like you said, you sort of, that's how they introduce it to you. And then as you're getting towards the end and you sort of filled out your map with intel and stuff, you start seeing a few things where it's like, oh, I need to jump off that one to jump over there, and then jump, and you're sort of jumping off different points and working your way up the peak, which is sort of cool. But yeah, those first three sort of training courses that sort of introduce you to the mechanic, whew, I spent, not even kidding, somewhere between 45 minutes to an hour completing
Yeah, that was a tough one.
that
Yeah.
third one, and it was so annoying because there was so many times I was so close, and I finally had to go online, and I was like, because essentially like you go down, you peak and valley a few times, and then like you nosedive, you swoop up, and then you get over to the landing, and there's like two rings stacked on top of each other, like going straight down. And I could get the last one, but I couldn't get the height to get the second one. And I was like, what am I doing wrong? And then someone's like, actually, after this one, you want to actually turn around and like position yourself to get launched up again. So like you'll like launch, get a few, circle back, launch up again, and then you'll have enough height. But yeah, it took me probably a good hour. And I think I didn't. It's funny, from like the 2-star to the 3-star, like it was like, oh, I got one more piece of ore or something.
Yeah.
Like something pretty minimal, but it did feel good to finally get it done.
Yeah, there was no. I was all I was aiming for was completion on those, because yeah, it seemed like the margin of error was so small with like just kind of clipping the rings, and
Mm-hmm.
there was even one point where I was like, I was looking at because they're a little off to the left there. I think there was like an air thing, and I'm like, am I supposed to like dive bomb here and then go off track to go get this like boost in air? So I went over there, got the boost, and then I was still no better off. And
Nope.
like they really force that dive bomb mechanic where you're kind of like you really have to get some huge speed to zoom back up. So it was tough. It was one of the tougher ones.
It's definitely tricky to get a hold of, and I think that's what took me so long in the beginning. Because like the first track, I don't think you had to dive bomb at all. The second track, I think you could dive bomb one spot. Well, you definitely could, but I think like I don't even know if you had to. But the third one was definitely like, if you want all these, you're gonna have to do some dive bombs. But
Yeah.
once you sort of get the hang of it, it's really fun to do. And then like it's funny, like I spent that bit of time early in the zone, and then pretty much I hadn't, I quote unquote mastered flying. So at that point I felt pretty good using the rest of the different sort of obstacles and tools to navigate and traverse around the area. And like
Hmm.
that's I mentioned a little bit earlier too about Gangaga being my least favorite, probably because how you traversed was like you'd have to find these big mushrooms and you'd bounce on them, and like sometimes you'd be like, oh, like there's a mushroom, like let me bounce on that to get over there, and then it actually, this one launches you super far, and
Yeah.
it's like, okay, I'm actually now just really far past the point I want to be. Where this one, I felt you just had so much more control over it.
Mm.
And even where like, oh, let me get to a high point and jump off and float down over towards, an intel point that I haven't done yet. And it just felt to me way more fluid and just natural to get around.
Yeah, especially if you get up real high and you can pretty much like see everything. So
Oh
like there's
man, yeah.
yeah, there really wasn't anywhere to really get lost. I think the only place that gave me a little trick was one of the proto relic areas was kind of like at the very edge of the map, and you needed to like find a path or something. And I think that was like the only tricky time was like, oh, where's this path? I'm trying to figure out how to get, like, it looks like it's on the opposite side of a wall or something. And
Had
once
that,
it kind of
yeah.
yeah, once I finally found it, then it was all right. But
Sometimes those like yeah icons on the map can be deceiving
yeah,
because yeah it'll be like, oh look, it's right on top of that sort of plateau looking area, and then you go over there and it's like, oh no, it's actually underneath this,
yeah,
and the beginning of the path to that is actually way over here, and like yeah
yeah,
you're like feeling like an idiot looking over in this area. But I feel like that doesn't happen too often, but it did happen a few times.
yeah. And yeah, so I mean, yeah, that's the region. It's kind of this great big canyon, obviously, and lots of neat areas. But the actual Cosmo Canyon, when you get there and you find out Red 13's real name is Nanaki, and everyone's excited to see him. And I was just kind of blown away by the amount of detail in this village. Like, it is huge. Like, it's so huge that they were smart enough to actually put
Oh, thank God.
gods guides around. Like, I think there's like
Gods.
set, yeah, god, about like I was thinking I was about to say guards, and I'm like, I guess they are guards, but they're more like guides. But yeah, there's like 7 of them, so like, so you don't have to like run everywhere, because on top of the fact that it's pretty big, like there's different I think there's a few levels as well. Like
Mhm.
there's like
The
3,
elevators that are
yeah,
pretty
there's
slow
elevators
moving.
and stuff. So it would be pretty irritating if you're like, oh, I gotta go with the elevator because I've got to get to the 3rd floor. And it's like, no, just go talk to the guide, and then and say like, oh, I want to go to this section of the canyon, and they're like, oh, okay, and then it just like boom, like no loading screens, no nothing, just pop you right there. And yeah, they're like, and it drops you off in the good places, like it'll drop you off in front of the planetarium or in the hotel or whatever.
Yeah, over by the community board or something.
Yeah,
I wonder how long it took them to put that in during playtime. Like, you know what I mean? Did someone think of it ahead, or was it like they built it and they're like, someone's running around and like, we need to add
yeah,
a port,
that's right.
some sort of
Last minute
portal
thing.
situation. Yeah, like this is
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. And I also love how they've turned Cosmo Canyon kind of in like a touristy trap sort of thing, where it's like you see all these people that have come in. I don't know, like kind of hippie-ish with like the
Yep.
whole planetarium stuff, where you got
Sup,
these,
dude?
yeah, and then like the hotel has is like set up with like spas and stuff, and it's just like, man, like this, it's so like they could have pulled it out of like anywhere in the world, like where you turn these like kind of holy-ish places, and like, come drop your money here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Get your takeaway crosses, folks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is funny, right? Like, yeah, it almost has almost yeah like a hippie slash like college student vibe, right? Like
Yeah.
early college where it's like, we're enlightened now, and we're, I know like like the joke, right? Like where they're telling you about philosophy and stuff, and it's like, I took psych 101,
Yeah.
like, and now they're experts.
Yeah.
Sort of almost has a little bit of that vibe, yeah, different sort of packs of people sort of learning things, but obviously, right, like the planet is so important, and this was like the birth of um oh man, I'm blanking on the word.
Planetology.
That's it. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, yeah. So it makes sense that it's sort of people that are sort of in touch with the planet. It almost seems like maybe this is sort of like the Mecca, right? Like we
Yeah.
need to make our pilgrimage over to Cosmo Canyon and like be one with the Earth, if you will.
Yeah. Where Aerith joins the share circle.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Oh, that's when I had to shoot her down, I think, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was like, "Shut up."
Yeah.
And then,
She's
and then
like, I didn't make a fool of myself, did I? Oh, yes,
I
you
was like,
did.
"You should never talk again,
Yeah.
idiot." And then you feel horrible, but man, anything for Tifa.
Yeah. And then it's, when you meet with Bugenhagen, like that whole planetarium thing, like you said, amazing. Like 3 stories of just neat things. Like, when you first get in there, and you just kind of like, and then the fact that it lets you like look at all the stuff like there, like you could play with the tools, and they explain what they do and everything. And then I also love that Bugenhagen was so adamant that they were like, uh, very strict of like, no, you guys don't know what you're talking about, when they were like trying to explain uh, like what was happening with the planet and stuff.
Yeah,
And
he was. Yeah, and they mentioned right, like, yeah, we saw the weapon, and he's like, "Pfft, the
yeah,
hell you did,
yeah,
like, what are
that's
you
right.
talking about?
Yeah, that's just a myth. You guys are full of it. Like, get out of here.
Yeah, but it's funny too because it's like, yeah, he's very dismissive, but then as it moves on and towards the end of the zone, right, he sort of acknowledges, hey,
Maybe
like,
I don't know everything.
yeah, like sometimes it's hard for an old dog to learn new tricks, kind of thing, and
Yeah,
he sort of apologizes. So it's sort of cool to, because right, initially you might have been able to be like, oh, I don't like this version of our guy here. He's sort of Bugenhagen's being a jerk,
yeah,
but I think it sort of adds a little depth to like, hey, like this guy's seen a lot. He thinks he knows everything, but like maybe he doesn't, and everyone still can learn and grow and all that good stuff.
yeah. But like we said, this is Red 13's time in the sun, and after you've kind of gone around and saw the sights, there's all the I think there's like these little Easter eggs or thing where you keep hearing about Red 13's dad and how he doesn't thinks he's a coward, doesn't like him, whatever, and Bugenhagen finally he's like, you know, I guess it's
It's
time you've
time.
learned the truth, sort of thing, and so Red 13 he takes Red 13 to the cavern where the Gi are kind of locked out of the world, I guess. They kept out of Cosmo Canyon, a kind of a trial for Red 13. And I think it's kind of neat that they chose
Barrett.
Barrett, where like, and you don't even get to choose. Like, it's just like, okay, Nanaki's gonna need someone. It's got to be this guy. And it's like it has to be Barrett. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
like
it
what?
has to be
Okay,
Barrett.
interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Where it's like, I'm not sure why Barrett. I guess, but sure, why not? I guess it just not Cloud. I guess, but I don't know.
Well, yeah, didn't they almost say it would be unfair if Cloud went in or something?
Yeah, yeah,
Like it wouldn't even like, maybe because he's got the Mako, like soldier kind of thing going on. But yeah,
yeah,
it was an interesting pairing, but a good one. Like honestly, I feel like all the character interactions, no matter what weird combo it is, like it's always good, right? Like, or even like Yuffie and Barrett, like Yuffie's always like messing with Barrett in the
yeah.
background, you know what I mean? And it's like she's just
Damn
that sort of,
kid.
yeah, like annoying little teenager.
Yeah. And I like that they forced you to use Red 13 in this one because, like, I don't think I really used them too much throughout the game up until this point. And then they're like, well, this is it. You have to use them. And not only do you have to use them, this cavern is specifically designed for him, where you're like running up the walls and going into. There's
Yeah,
even
that
a
was
part
cool.
where you have to like run up the wall, go into like this little cave area, and then you're actually removed from Barrett and Bugenhagen,
Mhm.
and you have to fight on your own for a little bit. And so, like, you're attacking. I guess it's. I don't know if it's actual Gi or just spirits of Gi at that point, but uh, yeah, like you have to do. So you get a real good feel of how Red 13 works because it's like it's sink or swim at this point. Like, there's you
Yeah,
can't use
good luck.
Cloud as a crutch like I've been doing all game.
Do you normally only use Cloud when you play, or do you mix it up? Or
I played probably 90% of the game as Cloud, I think.
it's funny because I feel like in Rebirth, or excuse me, remake, I feel like I was mostly Cloud, but honestly, like I mix around quite a bit. Like, like my main team is Cloud, Tifa, Barrett right now,
Yeah.
and like I'll obviously you started as Cloud. I'll like get it so I can assess someone, then I'll switch over to Barrett. He'll overload or over. Ooh, God, I'm blanking on the word. His
Oh, overcharge.
overcharge. That's it.
Yeah.
I'll overcharge, then do a spell, then go to Tifa, and I mix and match quite a bit. And that's why like I've messed with Red. Pretty much the character I'd say my least is Aerith and Red Third. Well, Aerith, Red Third. No, sorry, Aerith, Kate Sith, and Yuffie. I think are my least used.
Okay.
And although, like you said, I feel like your Red 13 is my Kate Sith, and in the next zone, there's that similar situation, right, where you like have to control just him.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like you're either going to do it or you're not.
Yeah.
So yeah, but
Yeah,
no,
I
I
would say
like that
by
they
like the
isolate it.
I think after I'm sure like I think from Gungaga on, my main I would say like the main strategy I ended up using for most of the rest of the game was I had Cloud Tifa and Yuffie, and basically like when a battle started, I would get Cloud to like I would get three like ticks or whatever for the synergy, and
Mhm.
then as soon as I hit three, I would switch to Tifa, and then I would get her to three, and then I'd probably like hit them with the synergy blast between Cloud and Tifa, and then I would switch to Yuffie like while they're doing the synergy attack, and then I get her up to three, and then I go back to Cloud and get him up to three, and then do their move and stuff. Like so, yeah, I probably should have mixed it up more than I did throughout the play, but you kind of get into like a comfortable groove or whatever,
Mhm.
and you really do need parts like this in the game where it's like, no, we're going to push you out of that comfort zone, and now it's time to experiment with these guys and stuff, the stuff like this is where it's like, oh, I didn't unlock the Barrett and
Oh, the abilities.
Red 13 synergy attack. So
Oh,
now I gotta this it's time to go in there and unlock that section because I'll probably need it, sort of thing. Like it really, you know, they did a very good job of really shoving you in all sorts of directions so that you're experiencing as much as you can.
yeah, it's funny too because right in the original Final Fantasy VII on PlayStation, right? There's really it doesn't matter who you use; it's the materia, right? Like
Yeah,
I could like my cloud version, I could just take all of his materia, slap it onto Barrett, and more or less it's the same exact thing. So I like that you can still more or less do that with this game, but obviously each character has a lot more, I guess, like weapon abilities. And obviously the play style is different. But like I think the beauty of that is it gives everyone that option where it's like you and me can have like a similar build. All right, this is our healer who really relies on magic. But I use Barrett and you use Aerith. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
I like that you've got that flexibility within the battle system, or really even like I guess like the equipment system with the materia and everything.
yeah,
Like how you can really customize, but have that flexibility to still this one jives better with my gameplay. That's why I like Barrett as the ranged over Aerith. It's like I just feel like with Aerith, I don't know. Like she's obviously a great healer and like got some cool like the ward zones and stuff where like oh in this or the arcane zone, whatever they call it. Like I can, any spell I do, it cast twice. Like that's huge.
yeah.
But I don't know with Barrett, I just that overcharge is so nice. Like I feel like that really helps, get the stagger going, the stagger meter on some of these enemies going nice and early.
Yeah, well, I feel like Barrett. I feel like his attacks like are way speedier too. Like you could do the overcharges, and there's you can get some weapons that really push the limit of like, okay, you can get to overcharge really quickly now
Oh
because
yeah,
like
yep.
you can add in a couple of abilities where it's like where you can double your overcharge and lower what it takes, and so you can get like so much offense out of Barrett in like a very short amount of time.
That's what I like with Cloud too, right? Like he's got some like I guess I don't know, not quite augmentations, but like each ability, right? Like when you go to your materia, or each weapon has like the. I think that's what you were just talking about, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
With Cloud, I like to do the Punisher. It's like, oh, he does more damage in Punisher mode, and he also takes less damage in Punisher mode. So it's like he almost becomes just like a tank. You know what I mean? That's pumping out damage and like I always love getting into Punisher and just trying to build up the ATB 8 as quick as you can,
yeah.
so you can unload. But I get we sort of strayed away from Cosmo Canyon there, but
Well, no, yes and no, because the next section, like, so basically, yeah, so he's the whole point of the trial for Red 13 is to kind of retread the steps that his dad took, because the story goes is that the Gi attacked the Cosmo Canyon, and Red 13's dad kind of disappeared in his mind anyway, because no one told him what was actually going on at the
I
time.
can't believe they never told the poor son of a gun after
Yeah,
all that time.
I know, and I guess Bugenhagen's explanation was is that they didn't want him to know about the place or what happened to his dad, because they figured he would try to
Yeah, right. Rush head first in there.
rush yeah, before he was ready, and so yeah, now he you complete the trial as Red 13, so it's basically it's kind of like the okay, you're ready now, and they show, oh man, like the cinematic of Seto as up at the top of the canyon there, as a statue, and then like the tears coming from the statue's eyes is like, oh my god, like
Those
this is,
weren't the only tears.
yeah, like I couldn't believe, like they did such a great job. Like I know in the original game they do a pretty good job of having that moment, but like man, they just dialed it up to 100 in this one.
And just honestly, that whole, obviously, yeah, that moment's super awesome, because he goes from such, embarrassment and disdain for his father to like such admiration, like actually, like, you know what I mean, like on a flip of a dime there. And it's, like you said, it's heartbreaking that he felt that way for so long, you know not knowing the full details. So yeah,
Yeah,
to see that all come together. But I think what's really cool is the gi in general in this game. Not only is, like, I really liked exploring the area, and I really, really love the design of them in this game is so cool. But I feel like in the original, they really didn't have much of a backstory. I don't remember, right? I think it was pretty much just like, hey, these guys attack Cosmo Canyon,
yeah. And
and it's
then
oh, screw them, like we hate these guys.
yeah, like I think he just killed them. Like in the original game, from what I can, like I had to look it up because like I sort of remember it, but it was just like oh, you fight them and then they're gone. And the research I found online basically confirmed that it's like, yeah, they're really not that big a deal in the original. It's just like you fight Geed and attack, and then they're just, that's it, like they're just gone. But yeah, in this game, like they've really fleshed out their even their story, and it just added to. It's funny because like when you kind of beef up their story and add a little more flavor to it, it actually kind of by default enhanced the Sephiroth's and the Genova story at the same time, because it just they're kind of linked.
Yeah, it's almost funny because I remember like the Gi cave and all that stuff in the original, but yeah, like sometimes it's like like was this, what is going on? Like there's just, I don't remember like how, like all of this stuff, and then you go back and yeah, and you learn like, oh, it's because there really wasn't much going on in the original aside from like killing them.
Yeah,
Where like now, right, they're not of the life stream, so like they're dead, but they can't, since they weren't born of the life stream, they can't go back into the life stream, so they're pretty much in like limbo,
yeah,
like
perpetual
limbo
void.
hell.
Yeah,
Yeah, where like all they really want to do is just move on. Like and I guess the way they can do that is by getting the black materia. And apparently Seto had promised them that he was going to go get them that black materia. So Red 13 sort of taken that mantle, and he's like, hey, I'm going to get the black materia for these guys. Now, of course, we don't know, but right, it's like, oh, maybe the black materia, they go away and it's all good, or do they have nefarious reasons for wanting this, to use it for bad? We don't really know, right? They don't give off that impression, but you never do know.
yeah. Well, I love the, so after the Gina talk battle in this game, they put you on, you go in like a canoe or something, and on the whole way I'm like, are we going to hell? Like what the what is going
It's like
on?
ferryman ride, right? Like, here we
Yeah,
go.
yeah, it was very very reminiscent of, yeah, that mythology of riding the canoe in the underworld or whatever, and then just seeing like the where the Gi tribe live, and yeah, like they're all just kind of there, and it's, if you did not have gold feathers going into this area, you know, God help you, because it seemed like every battle I was just getting nailed with the arrows that turned you to stone.
Oh, that was it. You know what? I think I went and equipped. I know I had at least one ring that would prevent that.
Oh man, I wish I had realized that or used it, because
Yeah, because I think I
yeah,
slapped, because I had a game over due to that crap
yeah,
where everyone's rock solid, and it's like,
yeah,
it's like, oh. The good thing is with this game, right? Like if you lose, you could like they give you a few options, but essentially you can just restart from the beginning of that battle. But
yeah.
but yeah, no, that definitely helped because then I was able to use items and stuff to unstuck all my other people. But
Yeah,
yeah, that those those abilities are the worst.
yeah. So yeah, so we find out in this game that the Gi are kind of like Genova, to aliens from another planet that can't enter the life stream, so they can't die, and but then when they do die, like you said, they're just kind of in this limbo or void of circling back to where they were. And it's funny that I love how too, like after they leave and the party's like, why did you promise to give them the black materia? and 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 Red 13's like, well, you know, it might not necessarily give them the black materia. Like I promised to find them a way out of their limbo or whatever, and he's like, I'll do that. Like I'm definitely doing that.
He's like,
And
I
then
was
he's
just
like,
getting him off my back. Jeez.
yeah, yeah. And he's like, read the fine print, sucker.
He's like, I didn't even like my dad till like 2 minutes ago, dude. You think I would care about a promise he made?
Yeah. So yeah, that was a fun. But yeah, the design of all that was like amazing. Like all the skeletons, just the creepiness of the whole Gi tribe just nailed it. Like they just did such a great job.
Yeah, I think that's my favorite part of this game is just taking something that was, I don't want to say throwaway in the original game, but just like okay, like you said, you go there, you kill those guys, and you sort of move on to just such a fleshed out backstory, and then like how it all connects to the main story, and it like so fluidly, right? Like oh, that was how they always intended the Gi cave, like, and that's how it always all connected. But like to just go back and realize like, oh, actually no, that's brand new story,
Yeah,
and just how well it sort of intertwines with the rest of it. And I think that's like they've taken, like I said, I feel like they've taken the base game and they've made changes where like, on paper you might just see like, oh man, like they're doing a lot of changes, but it all just comes together so nicely where it almost doesn't even feel like there was that much change, even though there's a significant amount obviously added or tweaked. But yeah,
yeah.
the Geek Cave, man. Whew.
It's funny because like when after remake, I remember being kind of annoyed. Like my in the moment reaction was like, man, they changed too much. Like because like the whole kind of spirit felt different with like the whispers and how like the story was kind of going in a different direction, and then the ending or whatever made it seem like they were really opening it up to any possibility. But then I've kind of had the complete opposite reaction to Rebirth, and where I just feel like the additions they've made, I feel like they've really maintained the spirit of the original game and everything. Like, I don't think I've had a complaint about anything that's been added. Like it seems like everything that's been added has been worthwhile. The spirit is completely there. Like I don't know if it's maybe it's just me. Like maybe my after remake, maybe I'm just more open to that more fleshing out. But at the same time, it just feels like they did it better in Rebirth than they did in Remake. It just seems like the thing. I don't know if I'm sure it's mostly the same team and everything. So maybe I don't know. Maybe they took some of the what people were saying after Remake and changed their philosophy a little bit. But yeah, it just feels like Rebirth has been that bigger, better version of Seven that they've kind of stayed on course with the original story, but not like it's definitely like there's the changes there, but it just still feels like you're just getting an expansion of that original idea. I guess I don't know. It
Yeah,
just
no, no,
it feels different to me.
yeah, I know what you're saying. It's funny too because like I guess you could even sort of a little connect it back to World of Warcraft Classic, right? When they first released it, it was like no changes, don't change anything. We want it the same. And I remember even like before 7 remake was ever, when it was only a hope and dream in our hearts, like it was like, well, I don't want it any changes. Just give us the same exact game that just looks amazing, right?
Yeah,
And I think my personal stance over the years is that it really has changed because at the fact of the matter is we can go back and play 7, the original, just as it was released, just as it was, and it's still going to be amazing. And now we could play this, modern iteration that, has its different changes and bits and bobs here and there, but like it's still it's not like it's its own thing, but like it doesn't take away from the original thing, you know? I
Yeah.
think in the beginning, like I was always like, yeah, just give us the original. But like I've at some point I learned like just because this is different doesn't change like the legacy or like how that first game still plays, you know? So I'm not saying I want them like to just like, oh yeah, we're just like,
Go
oh,
off the rails.
we took characters and like changed everything else, you know, like sure,
Yeah.
that's not what we're looking for. But you know, if we get the changes here and there, I think it is a good thing. And honestly, like at this point, Square Enix, I mean, like their track record of recent has been so good, you
Yeah.
know, that I trust them moving forward. Like with any changes they're going to make, that it's probably going to be for the best, you know. Especially like this whole 7 remake project, I think has been so good, where like things could have gone wrong in many different places, right? Or like they could have done things that like pissed fans of the original off, but I feel like they've done a really good job of just like you said, it's different, but it's still got the spirit of the original.
Yeah, and it's I don't know if you had a chance to watch. I watched the Square Enix put out like the a 4 video YouTube thing of like talking to the developers and that, and there's nothing revelatory necessarily in the videos. Like they're kind of like your standard, you know, what you would usually find from the developers. Like there's no big reveals or anything like that. It's mostly just the normal stuff you hear. But it's just neat seeing the people who worked on it, hearing about their background with the game, and then kind of get seeing some of their thought process fleshed out. Like when you talk to the director, like you could really see that the director was a Final Fantasy VII fan, like an OG fan, and so you kind of get a glimpse into the process of like, well, you know, there's this that we loved, and you know, we wanted to change this a bit, and so it was neat in the sense where it's like maybe you're not getting like this uh, you know, secret you know, back look, like it is pretty PR talk or whatever, but it still gives you that spirit of like where everything's coming from.
Yeah, you can see their passion for the project.
Yeah, exactly. And then the funniest thing is like everyone's in front of the camera, you know, like the one-on-one or whatever, but Nomura has this like dramatic, like he's not looking at the camera, it's the camera is like looking at him from the side, like he's looking in a different direction, and I'm like, come on, dude. Like,
He's out looking into Cosmo Canyon.
yeah. This is so hilarious. Like I'm just like, oh man, like did you ask for that? You had to have asked for this look. Like I have to be different. I'm, you know, I'm the guy in charge. Like even Katase is gets like the face to face like interview, but no, Nomura is like this. Like it reminded me. It made me think of like this seems like something Kojima would do,
Oh
where it's
yeah,
like no, I don't. I you know, this pitiful like you know, camera angle's not good, it's not dramatic enough.
he's like, I love everything about this room except the camera.
Yeah.
45 degrees to the left. Come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, it needs to be slightly looking up, and yeah, like this, like
We need to highlight my jawline a little bit, okay?
yeah,
Over here.
yeah. Oh man, it was hilarious. But
Well, I tell you what, he was worrying too much about that camera. He should have been worrying more about this the proto relic mini game in this zone.
oh man, it was so disappointing. I mean, the lore and the quest part of it was neat. Like I loved how it was like that avalanche group that was in Intergrade, and so they're like dealing with the trauma of what happened, like, you know, when they witnessed Wedge get killed, and everything kind of
Yeah, not they're not hardened soldiers like we are. Or
yeah, they're so you know, they're everything went belly up in the first game for them, and so they're kind of penitence or whatever to kind of make things right was to head out to Cosmo Canyon and repair the life stream, because you know, their fallen companions are in the life stream, so they're trying to fix these life stream. I don't know, I can't remember what they were called, because they're not like the life stream pawns that you see in the game, but they're kind of like these portals or something that just kind of keep it flowing or something. I don't know.
yeah, I'm not sure I'm so bad with what names and what things are called in games.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm with you, but I do remember that So the way to fix it was is that they were the way they explained it was like, oh, the live stream is like chaotic here, so we can't get close, or so we have to send in this robot to fix it, and then so this little robo Chad comes out, and then Chadley fixes him up a bit. Actually, he fixes him up for each of the different four sections, like to give him a different ability, so the mini game changes. But it's this. Oh, I hate this mini game. It's so there's like not a slime. What do they call the? It's the I'm blanking on the name of the baddie. It's one of the slime, but I don't remember what they call them, and it's off the top of my tongue here. But so there's like a slime in the middle of the circle, and there's like three different stations that are around it, and basically like you've got to send robots in to attack this slime that's in the middle, and so he'll spawn enemies and that kind of get in these robots' way, and it's kind of this tactical, battle or whatever. And the robots have like affinities, so there's like the fire and electric, and basically like you're trying to get past the spawn to attack the big enemy in the middle, and then once it's defeated, then you've kind of fixed the live stream spot, and then you get a little bit of story. But yeah, those fights were like it was not a fun minigame.
Terrible. Yeah, it was. It's funny because in practice, it almost like, oh, I can see how that's a fun little game. Like, okay, we got to counteract this, but there's like, then you need to go in and set up the gambits. Like, oh, if this guy's out, do this, and if that, you know what I mean. And it's like, look,
Yeah,
I do not care that much to be dealing with like, let me like, and it's almost, I feel like optimally, it would be like you do a run and you sort oh, they like pop this out, they pop that out there, and then they sort of pop this out. Okay, so I want to put this guy, like let me put the gambit so he attacks him for just like overly complicated
yeah.
for the level of caring I had. You know what I mean? So the beauty is they did have an easy mode option, like you could
Thank
like
God.
hit square or something and it put easy mode.
Yeah,
Because like the first one I did normally, the second one I died, and then I think I died again, and I'm like, screw this, I'm going easy mode.
yeah,
And then it was great because I could just brute force it. I was like, my guys did so much damage to like I like was like whatever this one guy, I'll put one guy in the lane to eat like just could like distract that enemy who's gonna attack my base, and then I'd like put three guys on the other side, and then they just killed the boss by the time it
yeah.
happened. But I had to, even on easy mode, I look on the last one, I had to go online and I found someone on YouTube that was like, this is the gambit, like I picked and how I set it up. And then I literally just watched what he did and just deployed what he did
Yeah,
and did
I
it
did
that
too.
way. Yeah.
I was like,
Like
I'm,
he
I'm
was
not
on
going.
regular mode. So I blasted through it on easy mode, but I was like, I just don't care.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is, and it's just like the Fort Condor. Like it was almost like a more complicated version of Fort Condor
I
to a certain
liked Fort
extent.
Condor, to be honest. Like
That was good, but I think it's because it was simple. Like you didn't have like the gambit system killed that because like you said,
Mhm.
this is such a small mini game that I don't want to spend a half an hour trying to figure out what order of the gambits I'm supposed to have to defeat this thing. Like it's just
Yeah, it was. Now, if this was like, I could see this being like sort of a funnish, like, like almost, I don't want to say like a mobile game or something, but like a smaller game, like on the 3DS, right? Like, or
yeah,
an old DS game where it's like, hey, and it's sort of flesh it out. And like, yeah, I do want to spend an hour learning about all the different things they could do because then for the next, however many hours I play this game, I can effectively do it. But yeah, when there's like three or four little missions in an already big game, I just, yeah, like I couldn't be bothered to be, yeah, trying to find out like the nuances of this system when like, yeah, I just want to get the proto relic and move on.
yeah,
Now, like I said, I am glad they had the easy mode because it did make it far easier to brute force. And then obviously, like I said, it being able to look up resources and guides obviously make it
yeah,
easy too. But yeah, definitely my least favorite proto relic quest game, a mini game for the quest line. which is funny because, like I said, as much as I love Cosmo Canyon, it ironically enough has the worst proto relic
Yeah,
quest line in my opinion.
yeah. The only thing I liked about it was that it was kind of a goodbye to Wedge, because I think that was like there was like that little live stream thing that happens at the end that kind of
Mm,
flies around Barrett, and I think the Wedge, it was like the Wedge voice of like saying bye or whatever, and
good old Wedge.
yeah, so it was a nice little song for Wedge, and it's funny because I'm still not. I'd have to go back and look, but I feel like at the end of remake, didn't they tease that Jesse and Biggs might still be alive?
Yeah, I think so.
But I can't remember if that was.
That might have been a different
Yeah,
universe for
I
or
wondered if that
all we
was the
know.
the other reality that was in. Like maybe
It
I'm
would line
wondering
up
if.
nicely, I think, right? Like to
Yeah,
tease that they were alive and then it's revealed like, oh, like at that point, yeah, we didn't even really know with the like how in depth this next universe or other universe would be.
yeah,
So, and then be like, ooh, okay.
yeah. So it was. But then yeah, they made it pretty because the party that's the integrated people there like basically confirmed like we watched Wedge get crushed. He's toast.
Yeah, yeah, he gone.
Yeah, he go on. But it was nice to see him helping out with that, helping that party out, and seeing him one last time or whatever. So
Yeah, yeah, nice little, like you said, a nice goodbye.
yeah, uh, I can't remember the all the alternate reality stuff. I never remember where all this stuff happens, so I've always tried to not talk about it in these episodes because I'm like, I'm gonna start talking about something that happened, and it'll be like 3 regions from now. But
Yeah, because I was gonna say I remember some cutscenes, but I'm trying to pinpoint where I saw them. If it was in Nebel or if it was Cosmo. I feel like it was probably Cosmo, but yeah, like I guess we'll err on the side of caution. Next,
yeah,
the good thing is next week we could pretty much talk about anything outside the very end, or not
yeah,
next week per se, but next recording.
yeah, I'm thinking maybe leave it to the end for to talk about the alternate reality stuff because yeah, it always happens between regions, so it's always like
Yeah, do we talk about it here, there, where?
yeah,
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 I'm sure. Yeah, we'll have like a real nice in depth about the ending and sort of our, I guess, final thoughts on everything.
yeah.
But
Well,
yeah,
yeah,
we
we'll talk about where we think the story is gonna go and all that too, and the ending. It's funny, people they were talking before I got to the ending. I saw this friggin' headline that was talking about the controversial ending, and it said something specific, and I'm like, I was like 30 minutes from the ending. You sons of guns. And
why?
but happily I disagreed with what was said in the headline, so it didn't ruin the experience for me. But
Yeah, that ain't it.
yeah, looking
I
forward
don't
to
believe
talking
you.
about it in the last episodes.
Yeah, I've been. Yeah, I try anything on YouTube. I'm sticking away. Like I said, I've done a few of those where yeah, let me look up the what gambits kind of here, to set up. But
Yeah.
yeah, I've been trying to stay away and all that good stuff as best I can. And then you come on and talk a podcast with your buddy, and he spoils it
I
all.
know. Yeah. Yeah. Like, thanks, Dave. Now I get to see this cutscene of everything has been told.
Yeah, he's like, let me tell you what happens at the end, boss.
Yeah, that's right. Well, the good thing about is that it's not possible to spoil the end boss because I would need at least a 2-hour podcast to do that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, almost as long as the last boss takes, right?
Yeah, well, I think the last boss took me almost as long as like all these podcast region episodes combined. Like it
Well,
was a
it's so funny because I was talking to Alex. Actually, Alex picked up Rebirth the other day, so
oh yeah.
he's played a little bit of it. But it's one of those I'm like, yeah, I feel like I'm in the home stretch here. But then like when I stopped to think about it, I was like, yeah, but it's probably still like 15 to 20 hours though.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I'm getting close, but I also know like I'm probably not that close, especially if I end up going back and doing all of the quests like I probably will do. So
Yeah, it might be around 15. What like give or take a few hours probably. I would think.
could be worse. Could be worse way to spend 15 hours.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Well, no, it's 15 more hours of joy is the way to look at it, you know?
Yeah, like I mean, I probably said it here a few times, but I know I've been telling everyone that'll listen is pretty much like, when you get to this many hours in the game, like you usually get to that point where it's like, I just want to wrap this up, even if you're really enjoying it, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, this game's awesome, but you know what? I am ready to just move on to the next thing. But I haven't really felt that way. Like, I mean, there are definitely other games I'm interested in playing and stuff. And I've been dabbling in some other games here and there, but overall, like if you told me it's like, oh, I'm only halfway through at 67 hours, I'd probably be like, ooh
Yeah.
wee! Like you told me there's 67 more hours of amazing times left. Like, let's go.
Yeah. No, there's very few games where I don't have that feeling of like, yeah, let's wrap this up. I'm getting ready for the next game. Like even like Persona 5 is one of my favorite games of all time, like in my top 5. But like after hour 90 in like the final dungeon, I had that like oh, I hope there's not too much left here because I'm
Yeah,
ready.
like let this
I'm
be
ready to move
over.
on. Yeah, but yeah, I can confirm from beginning to end of Rebirth, I never once thought like, oh, let's wrap this up. Even after finishing the game, I was like, oh, that's it. I'm so sad.
Yeah, dude. I don't know what it is. I mean, 7 is just so good. This might be my favorite cast of characters for a game ever. Like,
Yeah,
and I don't even think it's close. Like, they're all so good. I could hang out with all these characters in any world. Like, drop them anywhere and I'll play this game. Like I'll
yeah.
play them doing anything.
No, I agree. It's they've really nailed it in this game. Like I even when the third one eventually comes, like I hope that's not the end for Cloud and Tifa and the gang. Like I'd love to see them in something else one day. I don't know what, but
Well, maybe in 2046 we'll get a remake,
yeah, that's right.
and it'll be all in VR, and then
Oh man,
we'll
you're
just
just
get
playing
to
as Cloud the whole
explore.
time.
Yeah, yeah, we get to become Cloud,
Yeah.
and like
Hopefully,
the
I'm still kicking
pre-order
around when that
bonus
happens.
will be like a wig of his hair that we could put over the VR helmet.
Yeah.
Although yeah, we don't need VR in Costa del Sol with these bathing suits. No.
Yeah. There'll be mass.
Divorces spiked in the
Yeah, that's right. Missing persons. Last known whereabouts was in his home.
yeah, in his living room, his wife
Yeah,
killed him
yeah,
right then and there.
yeah. Or died of starvation because he didn't take the helmet. He
Yeah.
refused to leave.
It'd be like old days like Warcraft when they played for 72 hours straight and died because they just couldn't stop playing.
Yeah. Found with buckets of urine under the computer desk.
Oh God, yeah. Whew.
There's a good place, Dan.
Yes, yep.
Alrighty, yeah. So, man, like I said, this is the third to last episode. We got 2 left. We got the Nebo region that'll be coming up shortly.
It's a good
I'm
one.
not sure when. Yep,
It's a good one.
some really good moments there. And then then we'll do one last episode, which will kind of so we'll go over the boss, the very very lengthy boss battle, and kind of wrap up, overview the story and maybe a little. Guessing as to what we think the third one's going to look like and yeah, I guess go from there. So
Yeah, that
Juan.
last episode, I might have to get my Mount Corel thoughts in. The only episode I missed,
Oh yeah.
which is good, right? Because after we start, go back to that region at some point. So
Yep. Perfect. So yeah, I wanted to thanks for everyone for being on this journey with us. We hope you're enjoying the game as much as we are. And yeah, we're looking forward to wrapping this one up and talking a little bit more and get into some other games that are coming out this year. So
yeah, do you know when this one's going to be going up? Is it this?
uh, probably a couple weeks from record, like now, I guess, like
Okay,
mid-May-ish, I think.
Okay, I was going to mention the Link Between Worlds Dirty Mage crossover for Talk Nintendo 400. That means likely, if you're listening to this, it is already out. So you should go listen to that. We're going to have David, and then I believe Jordan as well is going to join us on episode 400 of the Talk Nintendo podcast. We're going to be doing an I Demand You, where we're all playing A Link Between Worlds. Many of us, if not all of us, for the first time since our original playthrough in 2013. So it'll be fun to go back and do that as part of the 400 celebration, but a great excuse to go back and play a game that I remember I had a really great time with originally. So
Yep. Yeah, I've got it booted up and was playing yesterday, so it didn't take long. Like, man, yeah, this I forgot how nice this game looks now.
dude, the
Well
3D
played.
is so good. It's one of those things like it's easy to think back to the 3DS, but yeah, well, 3D was a throwaway, and like, I mean, I guess you could say it is right because you could play these games without it and still enjoy them. But like, man, when that like usually the Zelda 3D games are usually like they do a really good job. I guess all Nintendo ones are probably the best 3D
Yeah.
visually, but yeah, definitely awesome.
Yep. So yeah, if you haven't listened to that one yet, I'm sure it's out by the time this is out. So go head over to the Talk Nintendo podcast for the big 400th celebration. So
Ooh.
it's amazing. Like that number is wild.
Yeah, we have not missed an episode or a week since our debut in 2016.
Wild.
Yeah, and honestly, like if you go back, there's actually probably, or I should say, there's definitely over 400 episodes at this point because
Yeah.
we used to do like the PAX Day Zero, and we do like a podcast for every day we're at PAX. So, but yeah, it's what a wild ride.
Yeah. That's still going.
Yeah. And like I said, all of us now have offspring boys. So, in another 18 years, they could take over and we could finally retire.
Yeah, that's right.
We've got our succession plan ready to go.
Yeah. Sounds good. Yeah, so I guess that'll be it for this episode. Thanks for listening, and we'll see everyone out at the next Thirsty Mage. Bye.
Adios.